Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Grammar. In this very short video, I'm going to be talking you through the 4 different types of sentence function. This is really useful critical terminology for both English language and English literature exams. This video is going to give you clear definitions and then some tips on how to analyse the different sentence functions as well. So let's get started. So the first sentence function that we're going to talk about is the imperative sentence. Imperative sentences are commanding sentences or sentences that deliver direct orders. And in order for it to be qualified as an imperative sentence, it needs to have an imperative verb. So let's have a little look at a couple of examples. The first one, shut the door. Let the pigeons in. Both of those are imperative sentences. Shut, in this case, it's an ordering, a commanding verb at the start. That's what makes it imperative. And then in this one, don't let the pigeons in is again an imperative verb. Obviously, that's a silly one. But if you were analysing literature and you wanted to draw attention to an imperative verb and why it's being used, look here, for example, at Lady Macbeth's line to Macbeth. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. So again, we've got 2 imperative verbs, look at the beginning and then be at the beginning of the second clause. And in this case, what you'd be doing is you'd be talking about the way that she has control over her husband and how she orders him and instructs him on how to behave, demonstrating their power balance. So imperative, identified, but also a little focus on how to discuss them. The second sentence function that I want to talk to you about is the exclamative sentence. This one is easy because guess what? Exclamative sentences end with exclamation mark. So anytime you see a sentence with an exclamation mark at the end, you can call it an exclamative, regardless of the length of it. So in the silly example, you need to get that pigeon away from me. You know, obviously, high tension, pigeon in the room, get it away. In something more literary, if we were trying to analyse, let's look at this from Romeo and Juliet. Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch. You might remember this moment if you've studied it, the moment that Juliet's father learns that she does not want to marry his friend Paris. And this is a really horrible, violent, scary scene. And here we can see the passion and the anger and the rage. And that is delivered because he's exclaiming, he's shouting. That's what the exclamation marks tell us. So exclamation mark, exclamative sentence. You'll notice that in this case, the one that we're using here from Shakespeare, hang the young baggage, it's an exclamation. So it's an exclamative sentence, but it's also got an imperative verb. So you could describe it as both being imperative and exclamative. Again, showing that kind of his power in this moment. Sentence function 3, the interrogative sentence. This is also super easy because interrogative sentences end with a question mark. And if you were struggling to remember, well, think about the word interrogative and how much it sounds like interrogate or interrogation. And when you're being interrogated, what's happening? You're being asked questions. So anything that has a question mark at the end of it is an interrogative sentence. So here, why did you bring that pigeon in here? But again, in literature, if we were looking at something a little bit more high level, we might look to Act 1, Scene 3, when Banquo says, what? Can the devil speak true? This is in relation to Macbeth discovering that he has in fact become Thane of Cawdor and the witch's prophecies are starting to come true. So if you're in an exam situation, you wanted to use the term interrogative, here you'd be saying, well, the use of interrogatives demonstrates his disbelief. Now you might be sat there thinking, well, hang on a minute, miss, isn't that just a rhetorical question? Yeah, in this case, it is rhetorical. But not all questions are. Rhetorical questions are, of course, when it's a question that needs no answer. So if you've got a question in a text that you want to analyse, but it does get answered, and therefore it is not rhetorical, you can use this terminology, interrogative sentence. And the final sentence function is the declarative sentence. And a declarative sentence is a sentence that makes a statement, any kind of statement. It's basically every sentence that's left over. if you think about it, declarative, you might think of the word to declare. When you declare something, you make a statement. So, continuing with the theme of silliness, I hate pigeons. That's a declarative statement. I'm sort of stating it as fact. It doesn't have to be fact. An opinion can be declarative as well, of course. And here we have famous moment from the balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet, where Juliet is pondering upon Romeo's name, and she says, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet." This is a declarative sentence. It's a thought, it's a feeling, it's an utterance. Now, declarative sentences are actually quite hard to analyse, because the vast majority of what we say is declarative. It's not always for effect. Sometimes it's just for getting information across, just like this video. Everything I'm saying now is declarative. So really, you need to think about tone. So if there is something that has a very blunt tone and is said declaratively, it makes it sound like a true fact or a true statement. So that's it. 4 sentence functions. Hopefully that was all clear. It will help boost your critical terminology, but as always in any assessment style question, if you're looking at sentence functions, always make sure that you explain their effect. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions on sentence functions, just pop them in the comments. And if you want a little bit more detail on sentences in general, do have a little look at my videos on sentence structures. Happy grammar, everyone.